Here we go.
A Houston football podcast for your Houston Texans.
All right. Welcome to another edition of Texans Unfiltered, a Houston football podcast for your Houston Texans. I am Young Ari Gold, and I am joined as usual by my friend and co-host, John Wade, the Garnet Texan. And John, what's up, dude? How's your week?
It's going pretty good. Now I see that there's a rumor you may move to my neighborhood, so that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, definitely a possibility. Everything's on the table right now. It definitely would have to paint that Cowboys man cave, though. That would have to go.
Considering we can make that could be a Patreon bonus feature. Us videotaping it, just like
us just wiping poo all over the walls. Oh, wait.
It's already on the walls. I mean, we're wiping the poo off. It's true.
We're cleaning it, but can you really clean that much sin? That's the question.
I think so.
Yeah,
I think so.
Especially
it's a pretty nice house. You
Yeah,
can definitely clean that sin off.
It's a pretty nice house. Cool. All right. Quick plugs. Obviously on Instagram and Twitter, you can follow us at Houston FB Pod. Please take a second to follow us. You can follow me on Twitter at I am Young Ari Gold. Don't forget to follow the other Texans Unfiltered teammates at Texans_thoughts. That's Jordan, and Texans_draft. That's Dylan. Also, make sure you guys follow at Texans Storm Report. That's Pat. He is the newest addition to the Texans Unfiltered family. We have merch. Go buy hats. Please go to the website. We made these hats for you. They're really cool, man. They look really, really good. So make sure you guys go do that. Follow us on Patreon. If you would like to be a supporter, that'd be awesome. We would really appreciate it. We love all the support that we can get from our listeners, especially as we try to make this a full-time thing. Every little bit helps. So if you guys want more Texans coverage, that's just the best way to be able to get us on that path. Thank you for all of our Patreon supporters that we currently have. We really appreciate it. We had 4 more added last week. So thank you guys for that. I can't wait to give you guys the bonus content. Quick update. iTunes review guy from Britain. I really appreciate your feedback. Enough to where I'm actually going to read it on here, because I've heard this a couple times from other people, and then seeing it on iTunes really kind of put things into perspective for me. So used to be a great pod when it was James and John talking football, but it's recently become a massive circle jerk with a bunch of random in-crowd folks that most of us don't know anything about. They now spend the first 20 minutes of every pod talking about themselves. A shame that it's become so dull and unlistenable. I want to address that. I think you're 100% right. We've been trying to figure out the best way to incorporate everybody on the team. Want to make sure that we give them their time. We want to make sure that they have a platform as well for their work. Specifically Jordan, with everything that he does for the website. It's really important for us to introduce you guys to him, really get to know him. We've been kind of, in the last 3 or 4 weeks, we've really been just kind of juggling all sorts of things. And I know that you guys want to get us to get back to who we were and what started and why you guys love us. So for that, we are going to make adjustments. I'm not going to say that will never be the case. But me and John will make sure that we make a push for it to just be us. It is the off season, so we kind of saw it as like an experimental time to be able to kind of see how other things would work, as there's not a lot of content, especially with COVID going on. There's really just not much here. Where we would have already been into training camp, we would have had OTAs. So we've really just had to fill a lot more void this offseason than we have in the past. And so we've just tried to get as creative as possible. But we hear you loud and clear. We're going back to the normal format, and then we're going to work on a way for Jordan, Patrick, and Dylan to have something that they can put out that would be under the Texans Unfiltered umbrella. And maybe it's just a bonus content. Maybe it's just an additional episode each week. So I just want to make sure that you knew. I hope that we didn't lose you as a listener, and we wanted to make sure that we address that and that we understand and hear you. So thank you so much. All right. We're here for the Jamal Adams talk. That's what we're all here for. I mean, look, I don't deal in absolutes often, But when it all started to come out last week about Jamal Adams and the interest, and then Adam Schefter lighting that fire of the Texans being a team that are in conversations, it kind of started to get me wondering and thinking. I love Jamal Adams. Second favorite safety behind Derwin James for me. I prefer Derwin James over Jamal Adams, just because I think he does everything that Jamal Adams does, but just a little bit better, and he's a little bit quicker. But we need to talk about how it would work and if it can happen. I see a lot of it's never going to happen. I've said that, and I don't say it's never going to happen because we're not going to try. I don't think it's ever going to happen because we're going to be outbid. And I think a lot of people took it as I don't think it's a possibility. It's not that it's not a possibility. I just think that there are going to be teams willing to give up more for Jamal Adams. And it's true, actually. Jules is my source. So you guys respect Jules in the chat there. Okay? Because if you guys aren't listening to Jules, then I don't know what to tell you. He feeds me everything in my DMs. So let's talk about Jamal Adams. Let's talk about the move. Let's talk about how it can happen, what it would look like. Texans Film, thanks for joining. We appreciate it. You're always welcome here. You have a home. So John, let's talk about Jamal Adams. Let's talk about what he brings as a player. Let's talk about what he would bring to this team specifically, because I think that's the most important part that people are overlooking. It's not about the player. It's about what the player can do in this on this team, on this defense. So why don't you talk a little bit about Jamal Adams, and then a quick brag. Yes, that is my signed David Johnson jersey that David Johnson sent me personally. He appreciated the interview so much that he sent me a jersey. It's like my most cherished possession that I have now. So yes, that's what's hanging in the background for anybody that's wondering. Talk about Jamal Adams, John.
All right. Well, here's the thing about Jamal Adams. I would say there's definitely a non-zero chance of it happening. That doesn't necessarily mean that there's a high chance. There's not necessarily mean that it's going to happen, but there is absolutely a possibility of it happening. A lot of what's been floated around Twitter is like, oh, there's no way it's happening. There's a 0% chance. And I mean, I guess when you talk about a transaction like this, it is either it happens or it doesn't. But the Texans are going to be involved. They're going to sniff around. They're going to see what it would take to actually land him. Here's the other thing about the safety position. Us as fans, we typically value the safety more than the actual NFL does. That's part of the reason Justin Reed was able to drop down to the third round, is even though he's a phenomenally talented safety, traditionally safeties are looked at similar to like two down defensive linemen. They are not just valued as much, where there is a school of thought in the NFL that strong safety play completely masks the rest of the defense. Like if you have two really good safeties, they are what actually pushes your defense up into that elite level. Part of the reason that the Legion of Boom was the Legion of Boom was just quite honestly because they had Earl Thomas and Cam Chancellor. You take Earl Thomas, who is one of the best safeties, and you pair him with Cam Chancellor, who's one of the best box safeties, and they could both play free. They could kind of rotate to disguise the coverage just enough, and then nobody hit harder than Cam. And that's what allowed the Legion of Boom to really excel. You take a look at what the Patriots do every single year. They always have very, very strong safety play. You look at what the Texans tried to do 2 years ago, where if our cornerbacks didn't get absolutely decimated, the safeties were the strength of our defense, even with slow corners. And safeties can make up for that. What Jamal Adams personally brings is he would be a phenomenal complement to Justin Reed. Justin Reed can play both box and free. Jamal Adams can play both box and free. But where their strengths are mirror images of each other. You could drop Jamal back and have him be the free safety and have Justin on a blitz, and it would work. You could have Justin out there taking care of running backs, and that would still work. And then you have Jamal Adams, who may be the best pass rushing safety in the entire league. And say that part of the rumor that we would have to give up BMAC. So you replace one of the best blitzing middle linebackers with one of the best blitzing safeties. Like, dude, and he can actually cover on top of that. Like that, it makes too much sense not for it to happen if we have the capital to actually go out there and do it. And that's really what it comes down to. Do we have the assets to trade for Jamal Adams?
Yeah, I think that we have the assets to acquire Jamal Adams. I think that you're at a point now where, because of what has been given up in the past from a draft compensation, from just in general draft compensation, I don't know if you're in a position where you want to give up more draft compensation, because as you do that and you look at the contracts and you look at everything that is going to need to be given out, it's just the way to stay under the cap is by using rookie contracts. And when you're not filling the roster with rookies, it's extremely hard for you to be able to manage the cap at the level that you need to, especially with Deshaun and his contract extension, Justin Reed, Zach Cunningham, and then, all other players. It's just, if Will Fuller blows up, what happens, right? I mean, I would assume Cooks becomes expendable, and then you have, and then you pay Will Fuller. So I just, you have to wonder, like, is Jamal Adams that big of a difference maker for this defense?
Yes, he actually is. But
I agree.
But he shortens the window.
Right.
So essentially what happens when you have a first or a second round pick, you get at least a mid-level player for 4 years. So do we pick up Jamal Adams and we get an elite level player for 2 years? So that's the balance. It's how long do you have them? And with those first and second round picks, sometimes, I mean, they're lotto tickets on top of that. You have them for 4 years, so you have them for a longer period of time, and then they have the potential to turn into something great.
I guess just my biggest concern is just the fact that we'll be going on. I think a first is going to be the starting compensation requested by the Jets. And if we have to give up another first, we're going on 4 out of the 5 years with no first round pick, which means you're going to have then this year all we have are thirds, fourths, and fifths, and sixths. You're going to have to hit on those for this to work. Now, I'm not saying they can't, but from a risk perspective, it just puts me in a different, makes me somewhat weary, because we're hitting a point to where, look, the only thing that matters is Deshaun. As long as he's here, the rest of the team is you can do with whatever else is here. I don't know, man. I am usually the one that's willing to give up draft picks. And so that's what makes this one tough, is because I always will prefer a valued known commodity over a unknown commodity. And I just don't know if you really want to risk that long. And that's where like I'm at as far as giving up what it would take to potentially get Jamal.
I don't disagree with you. Because again, you've got to make up that young talent somewhere. We've got to find some. So thankfully, you draft Justin Reed, where if we had got him with a first round pick, we'd be happy. You got him with a third round pick. We have to continue. We have to have a couple more of those guys in order to afford to go out there and get more veteran players that cost more. It's an argument we've had before. If you bring in Jamal Adams, we will have more elite players that you have to pay like elite players, and that takes away from the middle of the team. However, it's a safety. Safeties don't get paid a lot. I know some people are floating around, oh, he wants $20 million a year. That's a $6 million jump from the highest paid current safety, 14.1 million. And that's guy out in Tennessee. Why am I blanking on his name right now? That's it. I mean, that's 14.1. I mean, again, that's not chump change or anything, but if you look at the budget of the team, that's not a deal breaker. This isn't like a wide receiver asking for 20 million.
Yeah, I don't know. I love Jamal Adams. I'm a big secondary guy. I think that he would make a huge impact. He can line him up everywhere. He's played outside linebacker. He's played corner. He's played slot. He's played free. He's played linebacker. He's played strong. He's played single high. He's really that Swiss Army knife that we've been looking for. I mean, that's what we were hoping Tyron would be when we signed him.
Well, he's a Tyrann Mathieu that can cover and hit. I mean, Tyrann Mathieu can make plays, but when you asked him to cover a tight end, bad things happened. With Jamal Adams, if you ask him to cover a tight end, that tight end's getting hurt.
Right. Yeah, and he can cover tight ends really well.
Yeah.
Look, I love the player. I wouldn't be opposed to it. I guess I wonder, is it worth it? Is it worth that first round pick in 2022? 2000.
I would say this: if it's enough to push you over the edge, to push us into a Super Bowl contending team, and I think as we start to talk about the defense, yeah, getting one more playmaker on defense is kind of what we need. And if you can do that without giving up too much, because let's be honest, any sort of window is better than no window. And even if the window is 2 years, I would rather have a really good shot for 2 years than a kind of sort of okay shot for 4 or 5 years. And the most important thing that we've always been missing, we have a quarterback. We have a window because we have Deshaun Watson. And we had a team's part of when we originally started this debate, what's better to have a lot of mid-level or a lot of elite players? We didn't have a quality quarterback. Now we have a quality quarterback. If you can fit another elite player on the team, every year that you can, you try.
Yeah. No, I mean, I agree. I do think that. So let me ask you this, John. Does he push us over the edge?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
So does he make
him and Justin Reed in that secondary? They cover up all the weaknesses out there. They allow you to cover longer, which allows our pass rush, which outside J.J. Watt is kind of questionable this year.
Sure.
And J.J. Watt, of course, is questionable because of his health. But when you have that sort of coverage and you have that guy that can kind of blitz from the secondary, oh yeah, he is one of those guys that can absolutely push that defense over the edge.
So does he make? I think the team is currently constructed as a Super Bowl contender. That's my thought.
I agree.
A lot of that has to do with Thor. Does this move does that confirm it? Does it put them at the top with the Ravens and with the Chiefs?
With him on this roster, yes. Now, I think of all those teams at the top, we would actually probably still be the thinnest, especially on defense. But yes, when we're healthy and we're all cylinders are firing, we would be able to play with any of those teams, no doubt.
So what is fair compensation for Jamal Adams?
That is a great question. And that's kind of the biggest issue with this. Because you, in a perfect world, you trade for him without giving up anything, because then our team is, not even thinner. Where, in my mind, I would think something's going to be centered around Benardrick, but Benardrick McKinney isn't even as good as their existing middle linebacker in a lot of people's eyes. And we've already viewed him as expendable, so why wouldn't they view him as expendable? They, however, did apparently show interest in him, so maybe. But it's one of those that.
This to me tells me I don't think BMAC is a part of this deal. I really don't. When you look at their linebacker depth and when you talk to Jets fans, it's their deepest core on defense. They have Avery Williamson. They have a couple younger guys that are doing things. I don't think Bernardjic is a part of this deal. I really don't. I think it's going to be draft compensation and like a player that has potential. A Lonnie Johnson, a Charles Omenihu, those are really probably it.
It's hard. That's kind of the point, because it's hard to get my hopes up about it because there's not an obvious piece for piece fit. I mean, that's the issue. We just don't have anybody that we can send over there. We're already thin on draft picks, and I mean, they're not going to take just the 3rd round pick for him. I think that he gets traded for less than you expect, and I do believe it would be a package of players. But I mean, the areas where you look like, oh, we have a couple extra bodies. Do we really have an extra body at wide receiver? Do we really have an extra body at tight end?
No.
Do we really have an extra body at outside linebacker? Like,
We have
areas that would jump up.
We have an extra body at tight end, but we don't at wide receiver. If Fuller goes down, Stills automatically becomes 3. So we don't have that, and you can't risk that. You can't. So while Austin, I get what you're saying. Jordan Akins is not a part of this trade whatsoever. And 2, they actually are pretty deep at tight end, and they're pretty happy with their tight ends. So I don't think that you're not sending Jordan Akins. You can send Kahali, and that's basically a 3rd round pick from a season ago, and sell the upside. But outside of that, that's it. I think Jacob Martin probably would be a pretty valuable piece in this, and especially given, look at Jordan, anyone but Martin. I think Jacob Martin actually is potentially a part of this trade. They need outside rushers, and I think given the investment on the outside with Grenard, Duke coming back, Scarlett is what it is, but you're deep at that position. We don't know if they're all going to pay off, but your highest upside defensive player right now is Jacob Martin. And if you flip that for Jamal Adams and a first, you're probably in a good spot.
No, I mean, it's part of the problem too is we also try and look at this from Texans fan. It's like, what kind of sort of garbage on our side do we want to give away to get him? Anytime that there's a trade, it has to hurt. Like, it has to. And we would be giving up something that, who knows, may end up being more valuable as the season goes on. And again, that's kind of the trick. He's a safety. We don't know what the rest of the league actually values him at. It just goes back to my original point. You traditionally see them fall in drafts. They aren't paid as much as other impact positions. The compensation is where you get tripped up on. I don't know if the Texans have what it would take to get him.
Yeah, I think I think you guys all should probably drop your trade offers for Jamal Adams in the chat. I'd like to go through these. I'd like to see what the best one is. I'm going to start with Roberts. Kenny Stills, Jacob Martin, McKinney in a 2021 3rd and a 1st in 2022.
Wow.
You are giving up the farm, my man. I mean, you are giving up. First of all, you're hurting your wide receiver depth, because once Will Fuller goes down, Isaiah Coulter has to be your guy. Jacob Martin is the up and coming outside linebacker pass rusher that we need. Bernardjic McKinney is a starter at inside linebacker. 3rd, we have 2 of them, and then a 1st in 2022. That's way too much. Way too much. Jacob Martin and a 1st, I could see. Jacob Martin and a 5th this year and a 1st in 2022, I can see. The problem we're going to run into is that because our only 1st is in 2022 and other teams have 2021 1st round picks. So if we do want him, we're going to have to make it worth them waiting to get that 1st round pick for another year. So that's the issue. That's why I've always said that the deal's not going to happen, because other teams have 1st round picks available to offer for next season. We do not. And they only have 2 more years of Sam Darnold on his rookie deal. So not that they're going to compete or anything, because they won't. But I can't. That's way too much. I appreciate you putting it in there, but it's way too much.
And I can't see Gase wanting Kenny Stills on his team again.
No. All right, other one. 2021 third, Jacob Martin, Will Fuller, and salary payment for either player. I don't. So here's the problem I have with trading a wide receiver. And I want to just lay this out for you, okay? So Will Fuller is always hurt, correct? We haven't seen a full season from him in 4 years. So nothing tells me that in the 5th year it's going to be any different. Will Fuller goes down. You have Kenny Stills, Brandon Cooks, Randall Cobb, Isaiah Coulter, Kiki, and DeAndre. Okay? DeAndre or Kiki, one of those guys are not going to be on the team this year. So now you're talking about the 5 that you have. Coulter's a rookie. You're going to have to hope that he can play well because all you have is Stills, Cooks, and Cobb. If Cooks gets another concussion, he's out for a couple games. Who knows what else? It's the wide receiver room. While it looks deep on paper, it is not deep. Jacob Martin and a third and maybe a second in the following year, I could see, but I couldn't see this one. McKinney Stills and see you guys. We can't. Maybe they do, but I think everybody assumes that the Jets wide receiving core is trash, but they've invested a lot in the wide receivers over the last offseason. So I don't know if that's what they're looking for, but maybe they need offensive line, they need defensive ends, and they need corners. Those are the 3 position of needs for the Jets. And I think, and like I said, their inside linebacking depth is their strength on defense. C.J. Mosley, Rumpelstiltskin had all of them. It's C.J. Mosley, Avery Williamson, Blake Cashman, and there's one more. It's Ben something. So I just don't know if that's going to work. What do you think of this one, John?
Close. I would actually go with Mark instead of McKinney.
Shed some salary.
I still don't think Stills is going to go, though. Kenny Stills, he's not being traded.
This one might be the most interesting.
Thomas Martin and a third.
Jordan Thomas, Jacob Martin, and a third. I don't know if it's enough, Jules, but I think we're getting there. I think throw in your second in 2022, and I think you can get the deal done.
I actually think replace Thomas with Lonnie Johnson. And that would hurt.
Yeah, I mean, if you replace Thomas with Lonnie, that actually might make the deal happen. Lonnie, Jacob, and a third. That's a pretty interesting one. Let's see what Kevin's got. Kevin's got Kiki QT, Jacob Martin, and a 2021 fourth and a 2022 second. That's interesting. I don't know how much trade value Kiki actually has, but he has upside. And they get a pass rusher and a fourth and a second round pick. I'm actually not opposed to that deal. I think it's a pretty fair deal. I think somebody's going to offer them a Jalen Ramsey deal, though. I really do.
I don't think so. He's a safety, not a corner.
Yeah, no, but it's more about how you can use him. He just gives you so much scheme versatility. Let's see here. A couple more. 2 third-round picks, a fifth, and probably a tight end. I wish. That'd be awesome. I wish we could just give them. That'd be great. Just give them,
I would be so happy with that. That's the problem why it can't happen, because I'd be happy.
Just give them all of the 2021 draft picks and call it a day.
Why not?
I'm serious.
We can't scout anyways this year, so why not?
Give them all. It's going to be a weird year again. Give them all to them and take Jamal Adams. Let the Jets have your entire draft. Kiki QT, BMAC, and Eric Murray. Eric Murray's not being traded because that will just impact the way that free agency happens for them. Plus, we would take a massive cap hit because of the guaranteed money. McKinney too slow, need to get faster. I agree with you. God, that's a lot, Benjamin. Oh, God. I wouldn't want to do that either. Not Bernard McKinney, a 2022 first and a third. And plus, you can't give them only picks for 2022. There's going to be other teams that are willing to give up 2021 draft compensation. That's the tricky part that we're in. Oh, this is a good one. Trade DeAndre for Jamal Adams. This actually might be. Wait a minute. Actually, and he realized it too. He realized that actually DeAndre's not on the team anymore.
Oh man, that
You almost
I've
got
seen that floated around Twitter way too many times, and it's still painful.
I haven't been on Twitter as much as I usually am. Witt, a 2021 third and a 2022 second.
I could live with that. I mean, here's the thing. Love Witt, but he's going to be the mayor of somewhere. So if you send him to New York, he's going to be the mayor of New York one day. I mean, that he would be very happy about that.
Yeah, I don't think Witt is. I don't think Witt's a touchable player, to be honest with you.
I don't know that contract. That's why he's not touchable.
And I also think that they value him. I think they value him more than.
Well, obviously they paid him that contract, but I can't. To me, that's going to be the biggest head scratcher of this entire offseason, and that's saying something with the trade. That contract.
Maybe. All right. Well, that was interesting. So let's give. Wow, we have Joyner Lucas on here. Stop it. That really can't be him. If that's really Joyner Lucas, that's not Joyner Lucas, but if it is Joyner Lucas, you are definitely the GOAT. And you fooled me if you're trolling me, because I'm a big fan. All right. So, John, let's get your prediction. Does Jamal Adams get traded to the Houston? Pat, Merciless Thomas and a third. I think that's fair. I think that's a fair trade.
Well, you see, whenever Pat drops something, it makes me a little nervous because that's probably what was offered.
Yeah, but then you look at his Boston Red Sox hat and you're like, nah, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about.
I know, right?
That's what I say, at least.
It makes me question his judgment,
right?
In so many ways.
And then you wonder, just like, is Pat really? Is he a real person? I know he's been on the stream, but is he a bot? I think there's a chance he's a bot. Anyways, all right. So with let's not talk about the Lakers and Celtics. Okay, Pat, chill out. All right. Give me your prediction, John. Does Jamal Adams get traded to the Houston Texans? And everybody in the chat, I want to see thumbs up, thumbs down if you guys believe that Jamal Adams will be a Houston Texan. And John, you go ahead.
I don't want to end this part on a bummer. I mean, it was fun to talk about him. It's fun to speculate. I mean, we all hope he will be, but he won't. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. He won't. Somebody else is going to have a better fit to go out and get him. Of course, everybody would be incredibly excited to have him on the team. Anthony Weaver, of course, being what was the word that was used?
Excited about the potential?
Ecstatic? Was it ecstatic about the possibility?
Yep.
Of course he would. I mean, Jamal Adams is a fantastic player. He's just not going to be on the Texans.
I agree. As much as I believe Bill O'Brien is working that phone, I believe that Bill O'Brien is doing everything he can to get Jamal Adams. I believe that he is probably offering what most would consider it to be too much. The issue is the draft compensation that teams are going to have to wait for 2022. Look, also keep in mind, with this team, we're never going to finish less than 10-6 or 9-7. We're going to be picking in the 20s as long as Deshaun Watson is a Houston Texan. And there are teams that can give up more in draft capital, and it could be a faster return for the Jets. So ultimately, that's why I think Jamal Adams will not be a Houston Texan.
Yeah, if we trade for Jamal Adams, that does make up for the Hopkins trade, but it's not happening.
Yeah,
because that's the type of lopsided deal that it would take to make it happen.
I would agree. All right, let's get to up or down, right? Is that what we were calling?
We're gonna just up or down. Did we not come up with a better name yet?
No, up or down on the defense. I want to get into that. I'm interested. And I think you have the link in here as well for the sheet, or no?
I do. I shared it with you. It says it's shared.
Where?
It's just called up or down defense, and it's a Google sheet.
Okay, got it.
Do you want to lead with that guy first?
Yep, I'll start it. I'll kick it off to you first. All right, so up or down year. We're going to go through the defensive players that we believe will have a better year than 2018 or a worse year, or 2019 or a worse year for 2019. We're going to start with the star of the defense, defensive end J.J. Watt.
He's going to have a down year.
Oh, why?
He's going to hit that age 30. I think that they're going to really throttle back his snaps. And we also got to remember that a down year for JJ is still an all-pro level for most players. And I know that you're not always the biggest JJ fan, but he's really, really good. He is really, really good. He missed half the year and he was still second in like QB rushes last year. Like he's good. However, they're going to throttle him. They're going to try and save him. They're going to try and save him because he's going to be a big portion of our pass rush. Without JJ, we're going to have to manufacture our pass rush. With JJ, you could send a 4-man front and somebody's probably going to get home. He commands that much attention even now. As he starts to get a little bit older, I think he'll be more willing to play inside because he's just not going to be as fast as he used to be. And let's be honest, what he does year in, year out, you really can't continue to expect that to happen with the beating that his body's had. But he's still going to have a very good year, Pro Bowl level, if he's healthy, close to an all-pro level. It just won't be JJ stratosphere anymore.
I think that J.J. Watt has a up season, to be honest with you. I think there's everything in his corner for him to have the best season that he could potentially have. Contract, kind of the doubters, fully healthy through the offseason, a better pass rushing team as far as what he's had over the last year at least. He will be better. Jacob Martin will be better. I guess I'm kind of going through the ups, but like I just think that he has a better supporting cast around him that'll free him up. And I think it's important for him to stay healthy all year to be able to earn that next contract from the Texans and make $120 million with the Houston Texans for the next 4 years. So I am expecting an up.
$120 million for the next 4 years?
Oh yeah, you know what's happening. You know the vibes. It's happening. All right, let's get to the next one. Next one. Nose tackle Brandon Dunn. Will he have a better 2019 season or a worse 2019 season?
I think he's going to continue to improve. There's a reason. I don't want to say there was a reason they let Reader walk because they didn't let him walk. They actually did try to pay him, but Dunn did everything the Reader did minus the pass rush. And so, yeah, he's gonna continue to improve. He's still a very young player. He is still 27, so he's coming into his prime. So yeah, he's gonna continue to improve and he's gonna have a better year.
I agree. I'll actually take it a little bit of a step further. I believe that the hole left by DJ Reader will not be felt by this team. I think that his run defense with Brandon Dunn, he's gotten a lot better over the last 3 years. You got to remember this is a homegrown guy that has Anthony Weaver's confidence. Anthony Weaver is the guy who has pretty much developed him, and I think Brandon Dunn's going to have a up year. All right, defensive end Charles Omenihu, up or down year from 2019.
Oh, definitely an up year. I mean, he showed a lot last year. I believe he was the top-rated interior rusher by rookies last year by PFF. Granted, obviously, we always cherry pick Pro Football Focus. The ones we like, we repeat. The ones we don't like, we disprove. But that's just to say something. And I've said it before. No matter what we think of PFF, when they rate somebody high, there's usually a reason for it. And Charles Omenihu, he looked good. And that was his rookie season. Usually they go, especially when they're healthy, they improve from 1 year to the next. And I fully expect him to continue to improve.
I would agree. He had a good year last year. a lot of pressures. Those long arms paid off. He's been working out a ton this offseason. I don't know if he's going to go off, but I do think he's going to have a better year than 2019. All right, next up. Second highest paid guy on defense. Outside linebacker, Whitney Merciless. Up or down year from 2019, John?
With Whit, it kind of depends who else is healthy. If JJ's healthy, Whit will definitely have an up year versus last year. He started off the year extremely strong. He's one of those guys, very, very, of course, we've always talked about it. He's such a technician. He's so smart that if they ignore him, he can take advantage of it. His problem has always been he cannot be the primary rusher. If he is the guy that they look on, he's the primary pass rusher, the offense is able to shut him down. And so it just kind of depends if he has help or not. If he has help, he's going to explode. I think last year, especially towards the last half of the year, was so bad for him that he definitely has an up year compared to last year.
Yeah, I would agree. I think, it does depend on if JJ Watt is healthy, as we've seen in the past. I expect Anthony Weaver to be a little bit more aggressive in the usage of Whitney. And I think Whitney has a really solid year for us. I know he sees and hears everything that everybody's saying about him and the contract. And I think some of it is undeserved, to be honest with you. I think that he has an up year. I really do. I
hope they let him put his hand in the dirt again. If he plays a little bit more end as well as outside linebacker, that's actually when he had the most sacks of his career, is when he had the most defensive end snaps as well.
Yep.
So again, I'm a huge fan of Whit. I know this podcast this week especially doesn't sound like it, because that contract just leaves me. You expect to sign for what he signed, that he was going to get. He's a double-digit sack guy, and he just hasn't shown it in a couple of years. Granted, he has played out of position. He has shown the capability of being that, and he is still the most well-spoken Texans player. He should be the guy at the mic, and I would actually probably go watch a speech that he gave on anything. But we need Whit playing at a level that he hasn't shown since, when was his last double-digit year? He hasn't had double-digit sacks since 2015, which is 5 years ago. Since then, he's had 2 years where he had 7.5. That was last year and in 2016. And then he had 1 year with 1 and 1 year with 4. Granted, one of those, it's because he tore his pec, but still, we need the highs from Merck. We need him to get up to about 9 sacks. If he does that, if he gets 9 sacks, we're going to have a good year.
I agree. All right. Inside linebacker, Bernard McKinney, up or down year from 2019?
I don't know. He's the one that confuses me the most. I like BMAC. I like what he brings to the defense. However, as most people have pointed out, the number one weakness of the Texans defense is the ability to throw short passes over the middle, because neither him or Cunningham truly excel at shutting that down. They do have a player whom, if he stays healthy, actually does excel at that. And that's Dylan Cole. So if Dylan Cole takes away snaps from Bernard McKinney, then BMAC's going to have a down year, even if he plays better. Let me rephrase this. I think with him, he's going to have a better year, but his stats are going to be down because he's not going to play as many snaps.
So that's where I was going to go. Because Zach is going to take so many more snaps, BMAC statistically is going to have a down year. It's pretty much that simple. All right. And then that gets to our other inside linebacker, Zach Cunningham. Up year from 2019 or down year from 2019?
Up. This is his breakout year.
Yep, agreed.
This is the year that everybody gets to know what we all know about Zach Cunningham. He's not just an average replacement level middle linebacker.
Yeah, this is the year he breaks out completely.
And I think that sorry.
No, I thought you were done. I'm sorry. You took one of your your long pauses that you tend to take sometimes where I think it's over.
Sorry. With Cunningham, what I would say is it's kind of, I was trying to process the thought. With Dylan Cole taking more of Benardrick's snaps, a lot of the things that Cunningham was asked to do in coverage won't happen. This will give him more chance to truly play linebacker and wreak havoc. So yeah, I think that Cunningham has a better year.
Yep, I agree. I just think that it's one of those years where the league will know who Zach Cunningham is, and it'll be everything that we've preached that he is for the last 3 years. This is the year where he gets an All-Pro nod. I'm not even going to say Pro Bowl. This is where he gets an All-Pro nod. So, all right. And outside linebacker Brendan Scarlett, up or down year from 2019?
Well, I mean, last year was technically a career year for him. He started 10 out of 15 games that he played, and he had 3.5 sacks, which was his highest. He had 51 tackles, which is actually not that bad. So here's what I would say about Brendan Scarlett. He's fine. That's what he is. He's fine. He's replacement level. And that's pretty much his stat line for last year. I mean, that's not bad. That's not horrid. That's not instantly replace him. And yet when you look at our defense, we almost universally point out he's the one guy that we could use to improve. If you put Grenard there, I think Grenard can step in and get those same stat line. So I would say Brendan Scarlett, just because of lack of chances, he's gonna be a down year. Because he's gonna get replaced.
Yep, I actually down year because he's going to be cut. Brendan Scarlett will not be on this team moving forward. So either Grenard or Martin, Duke. We just have better options now, and I don't think it's something that he's going to be able to hold off. Maybe he makes it for special teams, but that's about it. I just don't think
he's a great special teamer, though.
He's a great special teamer, but we also made such an investment in special teams that I think losing him isn't going to be as bad as people think. All right, cornerback number 1, Gary Conley Crew.
I mean, you just said it, Conley Crew. Can't say anything else. We're done.
For Gary and Conley, 2019, better or worse?
Better. I think the Texans know how to use them, so we can completely forget about that, half season of trash out in Oakland. So yeah, definitely better.
Yeah, this is Conley is having an up year. This is the year where they're like, what were they doing in Oakland? That'll be the narrative. How did the Texans get this cornerback for a 3rd round pick? That'll be the conversations that are happening. Gary Conley is I'm going to say a top 10 cornerback in this league this year. And I believe that he's going to get a mid-year exception. He is the best corner on this team, hands down. He is the stickiest corner on this team, hands down. And his ability to be able to recover when beaten is just an unbelievable trait that you just don't see too often. His speed makes up for everything that he may lack. He's a beast. He's the number 1 corner on this team. You can go like Bradley Roby. I love Roby. Go back and listen to the offseason last year. Huge Roby guy. But don't get caught up in the interceptions and the flashy plays that happened with Roby last year. Gary and Conley is the best corner on this team, hands down. All right, up or down year. Eric Murray from 2019 to 2020.
I mean, hopefully we're saying Jamal Adams. No, Eric. Right. Eric Murray. He's a hybrid safety. So I don't know. He's got to have an up year because he has nothing. I mean, for him to have an up year doesn't really take much. So up, I guess.
Yeah, I think he has an up year based on the fact that he hasn't played a ton of snaps. he hasn't really been the guy. So he'll have an up year statistically. I think they'll use him properly. He's going to be our box guy. He'll occasionally cover tight ends. But I think that he'll have a up year. He thrives in the box. He's a sure tackler. And I think that it really can only be better for him because he's in a position where he's wanted. They have a role for him. And I think that they're going to make it happen. So, yeah. All right. Free safety, Justin Reed.
Oh, this is a breakout year. Year 3.
Yep.
He's breaking out. Definitely an up year. He hasn't had a bad year yet. Started out his career with 88 tackles, followed it up with a 78 tackle season with one shoulder. I mean, just honestly, just him having 2 shoulders again would automatically make him have an up year. But no, this is going to be his breakout year. 3rd year in the league. Here's the thing about Justin Reed. He has a flair for the dramatic. He had 2 stops on the goal line, the interception, and then that stop on, was it against the Jaguars? That was Fournette, or grown man tackle.
Yep. Again,
one shoulder when he does this. As a rookie, he had the 99-yard interception return against the Redskins. Like, Justin Reed, he's a solid every down player, and then on top of that, you add that flair for the dramatic that the great ones have. And he's going to have his health back. Yeah, he's going to be out there. Just breakout year. Everybody's going to know who Justin Reed is, not just us Houston fans.
Yeah, I agree. Up year for Justin Reed. A lot of it has to do with the fact that last year was a down year, given his rookie year. Played a lot. He was hurt most of the season. Had issues with his shoulder. This year he's fully healthy, and I think that he's going to have an up year. I think he's going to be used the way he was his rookie year. He's going to be playing that single high safety look. And I just expect him to have an up year. He has all the talent in the world, smart guy, football IQ guy. I think he's going to have a hell of a year. All right. Quarterback, Bradley Roby, up year or down year from 2019?
Oh man, this one's a tough one, because if you say a down year, it's really not. It's kind of understandable. He didn't have a lot of tackles last year because he was hurt a lot. That was kind of the thing with Roby. When he played last year, he was having a year, but he just kept missing games, like hamstring issues.
Yep.
He ended up playing 10 games out of 16, so a little bit more than half, and he still did better than, what's the best way to put it? He did better than what 50% of his previous career year would have been. So he was on a career year pace. He came to Houston. They figured out how to use him. He was motivated, and they actually made him the star. And here's the thing about Bradley. He knows when the lights are bright. Like, he just has that flair for going out, and when you need a big play, he'll make a big play. Now, occasionally, guys like that, they get burned, and he occasionally would get burned. But with that comes that chance of just that spectacular play. And his interception versus the Patriots was just perfect. Like, that play right there is when we actually had faith that we were going to win that game. And this was against the big, scary Patriots and the big, scary Tom Brady. And yeah, I'm going to go with, he's going to have an up year. He's going to have an up year.
I would say he's going to have the same year. I don't expect him to have an up or down year. I expect the exact same thing. I think he's going to play mostly outside for us, and I think he's going to have the same year that he had last year. All right. Last one. Slot cornerback, Vernon Hargreaves III, up or down year from 2019?
I think he's going to have an up year as well. I like Hargreaves. He's one of those guys who's low risk, and there's just not, you don't find a guy with his size, strength, and speed out there. I love John Reed. John Reed is my favorite rookie of the entire class. However, I think that Vernon Hargreaves, there may be something there. He's one of those guys that if he's playing nickel, he's like a big big nickel, and he's so low risk. And he wasn't as bad last year as it seemed like at times, except when he gets beat bad. And with that, I mean, that part of that, to get beat that bad, that's got to be mental. And sometimes the guys that can't get over that mental mental
Hump.
Sometimes they just can't. And if a switch flips for him, like, he's a steal. If it doesn't, thank God we have John Reed, because John Reed, he's going to be a player.
Yeah, I think up for Vernon Hargreaves. I expect the offseason to help him tremendously. When I talked to Antonio Cromartie, one of the bigger compliments he gave to our secondary was regarding Vernon. He loved the way he played his rookie year. Said that things changed. He came over here mid-season. The terminology was different. You have a lot more responsibilities as a slot corner that vary from system to system. I think he was getting acclimated. He's on a prove-it deal. This is really his chance to be able to earn an actual contract. It won't be a massive contract, but it'll be enough of a contract to, really reclaim his role in the NFL and a position on a team. So I think that he actually has a up year and is our starting slot corner, and will give us a tandem of GOAT Gary and Conley, baby GOAT Bradley Roby, and then Vernon Hargreaves in the slot. And and then John Reed and Lonnie Johnson just develop, which is the most key part of all of this. So yeah. All right. That's up and down for the defense. All right. Well, that was a good show. That show flowed quickly. All right, guys. You guys know where you can find us. Thank you all to all of our Patreon supporters. We really appreciate it. Thank you, Alex Patel, as well, one of our biggest Patreon supporters. Awesome to have you. Thank you so much. We'll be putting out our Patreon material this week. Is going to be Hulk and Thor as we continue to go through the MCU. If you guys are interested in hearing our breakdown of all 23 MCU films, make sure you guys go on to patreon.com/Texans Unfiltered and become a Patreon supporter. We do these weekly. Special thanks to our writing team, Patrick and Preston, for everything that you guys do. You guys can find us on Twitter and Instagram at Houston FB Pod. You can follow me at I am Young Ari Gold on Twitter. Don't forget to follow Patrick at Texan Storm Report on Twitter, Jordan at Texans_thoughts, and Dylan at Texans_draft on Twitter as well. Please take a minute to follow us. Go to the website, www.texansunfiltered.com. That is where Jordan publishes everything. This week, he's working on pieces regarding the offensive line and continuity, so how they can be better as they all five return back as starters for the first time in the Bill O'Brien era. Make sure you guys also check out our merch on the website. Grab yourself a Texans Unfiltered hat. We have shirts coming sometime soon, potentially next week. So keep that in mind. And with that being said, I am Young Ari Gold signing off for Texans Unfiltered. We'll catch you next week.
Loved this episode of Texans Unfiltered? We'd love for you to be a Patreon supporter. Your support allows us to provide you with the best Texans podcast possible. You can also follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Houston FB Pod and everywhere podcasts can be found. And join our community on www.texansunfiltered.com or on Discord at Texans Unfiltered. Thank you for listening. Until next time.